It's alive. It's alive! It's pony life! Gaze upon this thing that I watched. It certainly does exist. Pony Life has had an interesting start to life, hasn't it? The confusing and conflicting release dates, the controversial promotional material, and of course the inevitability of the comparisons to Teen Titans Go. A show that fans of the original series hate, and the animation being done in the so-called cat art style, which I will get to later. Though keep in mind, the hate for Teen Titans Go is far more justified to me, since the original Teen Titans series was cancelled without a suitable conclusion to the series, unlike with MLP G4. So before an episode of Pony Life was even aired, fans of G4 of My Little Pony were already shouting "Burn her!" like an angry mob chasing after Frankenstein's monster. Though I do see why fans are making this comparison between this Prometheus freak show and Teen Titans Go, I do also think it's a little unfair. To me, after actually watching an episode, Pony Life is not as bad as I was expecting it to be. I see it as a self-parody. To me, it's overemphasizing and exaggerating what made G4 so popular in the first place. This may not be a love letter to the fans of G4 or anything, but I do see it as a show that is aware of its fan base in a satirical way. True, Teen Titans Go did this, but this was more in a "we must defend our right to exist" sort of way. Please don't kill me. For Pony Life, it's more of a "we're doing this for the fans" way. Self-parodies are done all the time in media. Disney did a self-parody with the film Enchanted in 2007. Arnold Schwarzenegger did this in the movie Live Action Hero, which was released in 1993. Anime has also done this several times. I think the best example I can use here would be Full Metal Panic, with its Fumafu series, which focused more on the high school romantic comedy aspects of the anime, with more crude humour instead of the action which is seen in the normal series, or original series I should refer to it as. I see Pony Life as G4's Fumafu series. Basically, MLP has had 4 different reiterations, each one with different visual styles, so why does this one scare people so much? Balha! Okay, so this show is clearly aimed for a younger audience and spoon feeds the moral later, but let's not forget how season 1 of G4 started off. Exactly the same way.
Dear Princess Celestia.
Oh boy, I miss those days. It grew more sophisticated over time as it recognised who its audience was and didn't focus on its target audience as much. But G4 was much more story focused, while also having slice of life episodes here and there. This show is clearly meant to be much more episodic and less story focused. This show takes the target audience into account again, which I think is great. The younger viewers were sort of left in the dust a little bit with how the fandom of MLP exploded with the popularity of G4, so maybe this is a way to give the show back to them. So the art style is not my cup of tea, but the animation is pretty good. I don't like how the mouths overlap the eyes, and the background sort of remind me of Sonic the Hedgehog a little bit, but other than that, I think the animation is pretty solid, in spite of the fact that I don't like the art style. G4 was very Art Nouveau with more asymmetry and dynamism. Pony Life is clearly more abstract. It's a departure from reality and accurate representation. It's taking a lot of liberties, and that to me is very bold, which is also reflected in its storytelling speed. Though the speed of Pony Life is probably the most problematic part of the whole concept. It just moves way too fast. This episode is called The Best of the Worst, and features Rainbow Dash being challenged by a new character named Dishwasher Slug to a fail-off. Is this a thing with Earth ponies? Challenging each other to goof-offs and fail-offs and whatever? Oh, what's that? I should know because I'm an Earth pony? Actually, I'm a Dooney, a Scottish fae that can change from a humanoid to a pony, but hopefully you already knew that. Okay, so this is meant to be a friendly competition that Dishwasher Slug sets, except he later on trips up an innocent Rainbow Dash fan and faces the wrath of Fluttershy. Yeah, it's the quiet ones you have to watch out for. You never know when they're going to snap. Yeah, Dishwasher Slug is an unlikable character, but that doesn't mean that he is badly written. He's just made for story convenience. I would have preferred a more deadpan humour character for the cynics of the audience to relate to, but you can't have everything, can you? But I guess the deadpan humour can kind of be seen in Applejack in this episode. But I guess Dishwasher Slug is contradicting himself. Being the best at losing doesn't mean being a jerk. It means a person who does not become upset or angry when he or she loses. There's a difference between not getting upset and just not caring, which I guess he is doing, but he's also being a jerk about it. Breaking glasses deliberately, vandalising the sugar cube corner. Seriously, why wasn't more done about that? And being incredibly patronising to Rainbow in the emotions round, clearly taunting her to fail. I mean, win. You know what, trying to make sense of this guy's logic is hurting my brain. This episode I think is meant to be teaching a lesson about humility. You know, hence why Pinkie Pie mentioned making a literal humble pie at the beginning of the episode. You know, that self-awareness I mentioned earlier. But the thing is, we've seen this lesson being taught so many times in G4. I mean, I like the spin on it here, but it's very preachy about it. It's a good moral, I guess, not to live up to anyone else's standards, but to set standards for yourself and stick to them and your morals. It's also to inspire others to do the same. That's a moral I can for sure get behind. Losing is how we learn, and I'm glad this show didn't go down the route of we're all winners, but it also didn't glorify mediocrity. It's a cheesy cliche we've heard hundreds of times before, but it's basically saying not to go against your nature, and Rainbow's nature is to win at everything. That includes being a good loser. Dishwasher Slug is the perfect example of someone who takes pride in being a jerk. Though he is an unlikable character, he's not a badly written character, and there is a difference. Is this a step in the right direction for MLP as a franchise? Well, I think for a franchise to survive, it needs to take risks and experiment with changing visual styles, main characters, and tone. But let's address the elephant in the room here. Changing up the visual style was an interesting and inevitable choice, but I must say that to boycott or ignore this show simply because of the so-called CalArts style is very rash, because the term CalArts is so degrading. There is a trend in the animation industry to use thin line animation, which oddly enough has been referred to as lazy and simplistic. The very term CalArts style is one I personally hate, because CalArts is actually the California Institute of the Arts, the biggest and well-known art school in America. Yeah, shows like Gravity Falls and Star vs. the Forces of Evil were created there, but to use the term CalArts style in a derogatory way, you are deriding all of the artists who worked on these shows as well as anyone who attended CalArts in the first place. The reason why this style of animation is so common now is because of the popularity of Gravity Falls and Star vs. as well as shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe. They have a similar style, and it can seem repetitive to see this style done over and over, but it's because these creators work together on many different projects. Simplicity can result in being less diverse. But is this a bad thing? Well, when it comes to quality control, no! To me, Pony Life will stand out because of its abstract style and its backgrounds, just as any other show with a visual similar style will also have its own unique visual twist. But really, to me, what is most important for any show, regardless of what it looks like, is how it handles its own character development, plot, story arcs, and dialogue. Its humor and its message. These are qualities that should be considered before ever calling a show lazy. I argue that simplicity does not automatically mean lazy. True, Pony Life uses the same main characters as G4, which in my opinion may actually hurt it in the long run, but all of the characters seem to echo their previous versions in G4. But I honestly would have liked to have seen this series focus on new original characters. I thought this show would be a lot worse than it actually was. I didn't like the idea of all the main characters having the same wall-breaking abilities that Pinkie Pie has, but as far as this particular episode goes, I think it works. And I'm really surprised about that. I didn't think it would, but it sure did. As long as the characters still stand out from each other and don't just become Pinkie Pie clones, I can see this show working. Or we can just carry on believing that Pony Life was just some sort of dream conjured up by the brain of Chaos Pinkie Pie from the G4 Season 9 two-parter finale.
Later, there's some chaos in my soup.
Yeah, let's stick with that fan theory. But this series has a tough job following G4. Whether this is for you or not is up to you, but at least give it a chance before, stabbing it with a pitchfork or setting it on fire. As tempting as that may be, try to resist. I'm Mad Munchkin, stay creative.